Now, take this or leave it, but the fact remains, if you're 30 years old and you have yourself 4 friends, guess what? You're lost and you're not even serious with this life. Guess what happens? Let me just explain myself before you start judging me. But this is a fact. As we grow old, as we transition from being kids to teenagers to adults to boomers or to old people, there is a thing that changes in our lives. Do you remember back when you were in kindergarten? You even hardly remember some of the friends you had. Why? Because you had variety of them. I mean, you had like a couple of them, okay? A dozens of them, all right? And then you transitioned to primary school, okay? When you went to primary school, right now, maybe you can just remember like 2 or 3, 4 friends or something of sort. But again, you had a whole horde of friends like you're hanging around and all those kind of things. Probably talking about the things that really doesn't matter about life, okay? Now, we go to the high school. Now, this is the most memorable time of each and every one in life, okay? In high school, you can at least remember that one good friend of yours whom you used to share a lot of things. Maybe let's say you used to share the dorm or the sleeping place or hostel, however you guys used to call it. Or maybe you had that friend of yours whom you didn't love to go write the notes and whatever. There is that crazy thing that you remember about that individual. And in campus, honestly speaking, I don't even remember some of the guys in campus. By the way, in campus, people really don't, have that sentimental attachment between each other. So what exactly am I trying to show you? See, as you grow old, as you transition from all the way to a kid to being an adult, you tend to reduce the number that you're having in terms of people. What you amass yourself with is that you have a horde of guys who actually are so much strategic than just friends. Let me tell you one secret about life. You see, most of the things why you don't achieve much of the greater things. Why? Because you usually have a horde of people whom you hang around each and every time. Number one, you're predictable. Someone can tell you, or someone can tell someone when they'll show you or they will see you because you're very much predictable. Number two, you're very much available. Number three, you have a lot of people whom you surround yourself with. And these people, they're not even strategic. There is no way you can tell me you can have all those guys for, let's say you want to go out, let's say on a weekend. You see, you call each other and then you parade your cars if you're blessed and you have yourself a car, or maybe you walk, or however the capacity or in terms of the level you guys you are, you hang around with them. The fact remains this: the more scarce you are, the less friends you have, and if you do have more, then they are more of strategic. For example, let's just give you a typical lifestyle of an individual who is serious about life. This is the type of the friends that you need to have in your life. Number one, there's a very essential friend that you need to have. These are people who we call them lawyers, okay? You need to have lawyers. These are people, you never know. This is life. You might need these services. Let's say you even don't think, you see, when I say lawyer, you think like you might get yourself on the wrong end of the of the rules and regulations of the government and what have you. No. You can view them on the perspective of you want to buy a property. I mean, do you guys know that you can't be able to buy a piece of land without a lawyer? Well, you can disregard their presence, but you ought to have them. You need to have a lawyer at your disposal, okay? So that at least whenever you want to buy a piece of land, you have them at your disposal, okay? Whenever maybe, let's say, you got yourself into a thing, one, two, or the other, you ought to have these guys at your disposal. So it's good to have at least a lawyer in your contact. But before I even continue with this list, what exactly am I trying to define? There is no problem with even having 10 of guys whom you call them your friends. But as you grow old, I would advise you to have strategic people. What do I mean? Strategic people are people or are individuals who performs a given role in your life in the aim of actually taking you to higher levels in terms of development. That's what I'm inclining right now. I've given you one is a lawyer. Number two, you ought to have yourself a doctor, okay? You ought to have yourself a doctor. When I say a doctor, it doesn't mean to have like a medical doctor. It can be, well, obviously, I mean like a clinical doctor, that is, but it can be, let's say, a laboratory technician, whatever. You ought to have something at the lineage of health and what have you. You might get yourself into a thing. You always to, let me tell you one secret. I have this tendency. Whenever I would like to buy, or whenever I'm about to buy some medicine from any given pharmacy or chemist or whatever, this is what I used to do, or I do. I always call my guys. I do have my buddies. I call them, hey, guess what, guys? I've sent you a screenshot out there. Can you tell me how much do it cost to buy those medicine and what have you? They gave me the figure, and obviously I do trust them. They give me that figure that it's quite reasonable, and it's not a mass that I'm buying from them. Some of them are even far from where I am. So by the time I'm showing up to that stranger place that I do not know, I already know. You know why? See, if there's an industry that people get manipulated without you even knowing or understanding, is the health industry. So if you can have somebody who can actually leapfrog you, show you the way, and actually, share some of the nitty-gritties, then consider yourself lucky. All right? Are we together? Now, the other individual whom you ought to have is an individual who, if you are concerned about this, about spirituality, spirituality, okay? But I understand not everyone is into this, but I would advocate you be into it. You see, you have somebody at least who grows you spiritually. See, what am I trying to mean before I even continue with the list? You're supposed to encircle yourself with guys who are quite resourceful for you. They're also resourceful to them. For example, if I'm a financial advisor, I talk about investment, I talk about money. Obviously, I'm useful to that individual who, let's say, is a teacher, or I'm useful to that individual whom is a police officer. And that means that you ought to also have somebody from the law, meaning you ought to have yourself a what? A police officer. Okay? You must know a police officer. Come on, this is Kenya. I know you. Some people from the first world will be like, why on earth should I have a friend who is a police officer? No. Come on, welcome to Africa. You ought to have a police officer. For the reasons I won't tell, but you know very well, you ought to have a police officer. When I say a police officer, this can be, all the way from OCS, OCPD, what have you. Come on, you ought to know somebody in Kenya, all right? And you already know the reason as to why I'm saying so. So these are just by 4 examples of people whom you're supposed to encircle yourself with. There is no way you can tell me you have that individual who caters for all these roles. The guy is a lawyer, the guy is a doctor, the guy is a spiritual leader, the guy is a police officer, he's whoever. No. But I understand one thing. I'm not ruling out the fact that you cannot be able to have a friend. There's always that individual whom you feel like, hey, guess what? This is an individual who understands more. Is an individual whom you've shared a lot. Probably maybe you came from the same locality in terms of where I was born, maybe where I live or something of sort. And by the way, do you know one thing? It is very hard. And I think this one you should take a pen and paper and write it down and never ever forget about it. Do you know it is very hard to make a new friend at the age of 28 and above? Very hard. If you've not gotten yourself that friend of yours by the time you clock 28 years, past that, you cannot be able to make a friend. There is no way you can tell me right now as that is somebody whom you will meet in your life. Be open, be close, know everything about that. No way. Most of the friends whom we have, most of them are high school kids whom we met when we were kids, or they are guys whom we've been together for quite a number of years. It is very hard to go out there. You see, for example, say right now, let's say you're watching these videos and you have kids, and maybe let's say you migrate from one locality to the next. The next morning, your kids usually have new friends. You find them, they can even come to your house. It's usually, it's very easy for a kid to, to friendship, to make friends and be able to make new people. And by the way, the same case applies to them about forgetting. You see, today, right now, where you live, your kids, they have friends. They call names and what have you. The moment you migrate, they forget about them. They meet the next people, they make friends, then they progress. But as you grow old, as a human being and as an adult, you get to realize, okay, I am choosy. That's the type of the friends whom I look for, not just anybody. And that's why you as an adult, it can take you for a little bit while, especially if you're a man. Okay, for ladies, for our wonderful ladies, it's quite a different case. You can migrate to a new place today. After a week, they already amassed themselves friends. But again, if they are adults, they are also very choosy on whom they befriend and also share some of the secrets. But for men and for human beings, let me just say generally for adults, you find that it becomes a little bit hard for you to make a new friend, especially when you clock 28 years and above. Now, you're lying to yourself. You tell me that at age 30, you have yourself 4 friends. Guess what you're having? You're just having people who are actually doing that what you love. You're having people who are actually serving your comfort. You're having people who do not disturb. Let me tell you one secret, okay? You see, when you have people who just tell you what you want to hear, maybe let's say you hang around, you just want people to go and hang around somewhere. Maybe there's a way you usually go and drink. You have some guys who do exactly that. Maybe they say you see, when you have those guys who offers you the comfort, then I am telling you, you got to get yourself into lots of problems, okay? And there is this challenge that I want to throw to you. Whatever you do, if you realize you can be able to amass the 4 friends of yours, as you call them, At any given time, you can just take your phone and call them, and right now within the next few minutes they are available, the four of you, and you're seated. And it's not a thing that you did plan, and it means that you guys, you're not heading on the right direction. And that specific comfort is what brings a lot of differences between people and other things. Okay, so one thing that I would advise you to do is this: try to get appropriate strategic people who are quite essential in your life. And that is the only way you can actually go ahead and progress in life. Okay, now if I can just be able to echo what I've if I can just echo exactly what I've just said in terms of, as a parting shot, is this: at all the time, make sure that the guys whom you have are quite resourceful individuals. Do not just hang around with any individual out there in the name of calling them friends. No, disturb the comfort, go out there, amass yourself different individuals, get yourself new challenges, get yourself new growth and development as you progress to the next level. So let us agree on this as we finish. Make sure that you do exactly what I've just told you. And if you're in that category, take care of that. Anyway, guess what, guys? That marks the end of my video, but it's not the end of me posting a video each and every day. So if you want to be part of my video each and every time so you don't miss, make sure that you hit that subscription button. And by the way, make sure that as well you turn that notification bell. Like this video, it doesn't cost you anything, it's free of charge. Okay, like this video and also comment down below, tell me what you think, because I'm a believer, just like an iron sharpens another iron, so do we learn from each other. For now, it's a goodbye. And there's some guys who have been asking me, hey, you know what, guys, where is your number? Joseph would like to talk to you and all those kind of things. Hey, my number is always on the description of this specific video. Grab it, let's conversate, let's progress to the next level, because I have booklets about investments, I have I offer guidance about consultations and what have you. So if you'd like to get piece of my advice, grab that number, let's have a conversation. I do charge only for a cup of coffee's price. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.